Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 19th of October, comes to you from London. And we see that the dollar index has been rising on the short term chart. Remembering this is my weekly, daily, and 60-minute chart, long term, medium term, and short term view of the market with the corresponding point and figure charts. And so we are just seeing the dollar looking like it's bottomed at those levels and slowly recovering, although we are down this morning. Looking at the euro, we're sitting at 117, and of course that stronger dollar has just weighed heavily, and it's looking like the euro topped at about 120. We're seeing sterling sitting at 130 dead this morning, so it's just right on that 130 level. So it is holding its own against the dollar, despite fears of Brexit and all the COVID things that are happening in Europe. It seems to be just shaking that off at the moment. Against the euro, we're sitting at 110.70. So again, sterling just holding its own here. And on the medium-term chart, the lagging line on the verge of making a cross for the first time in many months, and so we are just seeing that sterling gaining a little bit of the upper hand. Looking at the stock markets, we saw the S&P index last week was pretty flat. We had a little bit of a doji candle building there on the weekly. Couldn't quite get to a new high. This is the key thing, of course. Can we make a new high? So that will be the thing to watch this week. And the Nasdaq, similarly, just that uncertainty of quite a lot of gyration in the week, ending up much where we started, failing to make a new high. We do still have this downside target hanging over us, but a new upside target some 12% higher. So key is to watch for that new high that will negate the downside target. The Dow hasn't managed to make a high above its level back in March, and that really just does show how much the market is driven by tech stocks at the moment. Looking at the futures, we're seeing the S&P future up 0.87% this morning, the Nasdaq E-mini up 1.1%, so it does suggest a strong showing on the US Open today. The VIX volatility is little changed at 27.5%, so that's quite key there. And if we look at the FTSE 100 index, we're also seeing there that we are just as the future that we're pretty flat this morning. The DAX cash is up 0.25%, and the CAC 40 in France is up 0.8%. So it's just starting to nudge highs we've not seen for a few weeks, but of course it has been flat ever since that June high. Taking a look at Japan, we're up 1.2% there, and the Hang Seng up 0.6%. So looking stronger there, although China was down 0.7% despite the strong news on GDP numbers there. Looking at the Sensex, we're up 1% there, so India looking better, and the Aussie market was up just under 1%. So market sentiment has got off to a good start for the week. Gold is sitting at 1910, so that's looking stronger, bullish on all three charts. And if we look at silver, we're up 2% this morning, and again back into the bull zone there. And if we look at US 10-year yields, we are sitting at 0.77%, so regaining some poise there back into the high 70s area. Taking a look at the energy mix, Brent crude is down 0.3% this morning. It's really stuck in a range at the moment. Of course, the key thing is, can Brent make a new high? We've got targets in both directions. We're neutral on crude oil for clients this week. Looking at US nat gas, we're down nearly 3% this morning, so that is starting to just head lower there. We are slightly below the cloud with a target some 2% lower. If we fall below this 267 level, we activate that bigger downside target. Looking at gasoline prices, we're sitting 0.7% down. So that's looking weaker. Coal, little change here, but we are just recovering there on the coal price. And emissions heading lower this morning, 24.76. It's not looking good for emissions prices. We've got new downside targets. We're nudging new lows and looking like we'll go much lower. This break on the emissions chart is really quite key, below that 25 euro level. Gas prices are looking pretty strong this morning. NBP front month up nearly 2%, TTF up 2.6%. We're seeing these moves higher with lots of upside targets, so we're in bullish mood for gas this week. The same with summer gas or winter gas, and if we look at Gazprom, we're also pushing higher there, up 2%. German power is weaker. It's up 0.13% this morning, but we are still pretty bearish on power markets, just struggling to get back above that 40 euro mark. is quite significant. So downside potential there, although we're up slightly this morning. The quarterly contract for power also up this morning, but not looking great on the chart. French power is the weakling in Europe. It's crossed below its trend and bearish below the cloud. And if we look at Dutch power, we have fallen out of that range. So that's quite significant now that we're lower there. We've seen really big moves on Nordic power, some 4% lower, hitting through the levels that we identified for clients last week, and also the same on the quarterly contract, although there's no clear downside targets there. Czech power down 0.25%, and UK power is little change we're seeing here, just holding on. So it's bucking the trend really. Keep an eye on that oil price this week. That's the main one. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.